Hey, what's up? Excuse me for just having done cardio and shoulders and triceps, which I realized I just did shoulders on Sunday. So, realized that halfway through my workout. So, but oh well. Wanted to continue a little bit about what I had talked about in the first video about hunger. And I mentioned how the difference between being good and being great is being hungry. Well, I could tell you that from back in the 70s and 80s, lifters back then did not have any social media. There was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no YouTube, so there was no exposure other than what you saw on TV. You know, there were some powerlifting competitions, and you can actually YouTube this. You know, there's a few of them that Bill Kazmaier was in. Like it's like 1980. If you type in 1980 powerlifting, I think it should show up on YouTube. But you can see how Bill Kazmaier gave it his all, even though he managed to foobar his shoulder on the squats because of the squat rack being so narrow. Another guy that pretty much killed it in one of his meets was Doug Young. I think somewhere on a squat he ended up breaking some ribs or doing something with his ribs. And even the commentators were like, there's no way he's going to be able to continue. Well, he still went ahead and PR'd on the bench and then went and did the deadlift, which, by the way, after he did that deadlift, he was in a level of pain, which I don't think he even realized. But that's what I'm talking about. You're more likely to see that back then than now. Things like money, sponsorship, stuff like that. You know, lifters kind of get a little too complacent because they got this stuff. And then they kind of forget, you know. Sometimes you also have to remember, you have to kind of always go back to when you first walked into the gym and you saw, you know, your first biggest guy in the gym, the first monster you saw, and you realize, you know, I want to be like that guy. I mean, that guy's huge, you know. And I think a lot of it has to do with fear. A lot of it has to do with fear of the unknown. Fear of losing, fear of competition, fear of failure. I mean, fear of non-acceptance. You know, fear that they lose something, that fear if they lose something, that they're going to lose something else. And, you know, sometimes that is a rough reality to face, but that should really light a fire in your eyes every day. I mean, I see guys all the time do the same shit in the gym because, you know, if it's broke, don't fix it, right? But they're not constantly going out there and learning and educating themselves and pushing themselves further, pushing themselves past wherever they were. You know, whenever I hear guys talk about how they want to go back to where they were, all right? Well, why go back to where you were before? Why not go to a whole different level? And again, on that is fear, because they fear that they may not get there, or they fear it's going to take a little bit more time or whatever. But it's easier, and it's human nature to always look at it like this. It's human nature to always go for the easy route. That's just how we work. That's why when we go the opposite, that's why when we go the more difficult route, shit's different. But we end up forging something better than before. And that kind of goes back to where all our lifters back in the 70s and 80s were doing. You know, a lot of these guys, they went and broke records. They didn't stop. They didn't stop training. They kept going. They pretty much kept going. You know, they just killed it left and right. To me, back then the competition was just full of wolves. Every last one of them was just waiting to smell blood. And once they smelled blood, it was done. I mean, you know, and I remember John Grove telling me about some competitions that he always tell me stories like this all the time, which I got a kick out of because I love them. And he was telling me how he competed in a competition with two competitors, and it was neck and neck the whole day. He said that none of them gave him any inch. He had to, for whatever poundage he got, whether it be 5, 10, or 15, he had to earn it. I mean, it wasn't given to him. That right there shows that he was competing against hungry competitors. And there's just no preparation when you're facing someone who's hungry. Again, over the top, the final match in that movie, again, both competitors were hungry. both competitors underestimated the hunger of the other competitor, which is why the match was so long, so dramatic, whatever. But, it made a point to say that even though they were prepared, they weren't prepared for the other guy's hunger. However, being hungry does help you prepare for that. If you're not hungry, you're not going to be prepared for it. No matter what you do, what you say, what you take, there's just no preparation for it. That's what partly happened in Rocky 3. Rocky, even though he trained, he didn't train the way he should have. Why didn't he train the way he should have? Because he had lost that hunger. He had lost that passion, that intensity. He had lost that. His competitor may not have that passion, but he had the intensity and hunger, which was more than enough to pretty much kill him in that match. And again, it was because Rocky was not prepared. He was not prepared to do what was necessary to do what needs to be done. Period. That's what being hungry is all about, is doing what's necessary to get the job done. Day in, day out, doing what's necessary to prove yourself from day in, day out. There's no time for complacency. There's no time for being lazy. When I first competed, my first coach had put the mentality in my head. Look, if you do well in the meet, you get a week off, which I, over time, didn't really do. But if you bomb out of the meet, he was like, take a few days, cry, sob, get the fuck over it, back in the gym on Monday, we get ready to fix it. That's how I like it. To me, getting back in the gym and training after a bad meet gets my mind off the meet, gets my mind focused on what's ahead. I don't have time to sit there and think about what happened. All I can do was think about, okay, we're doing good. All I could think about was basically doing what needs to be done so it doesn't happen again, but also so I can push myself to the next level, no matter how long it takes. Okay, some people have that fear in the back of their head where they fear they won't be able to reach that level, fear of whatever, and you have to just take that fear out of your head. And sometimes fear could be the biggest motivation either. Sometimes we shouldn't sit there and deny that's there. It's there every day. It's there. One way around that, fucking prove yourself every day. You don't have to worry about it. That's that simple. If you're scared of your competition, prove yourself every day that you're better than your competition. Okay? If you're afraid that your physique doesn't compare to a natural level, guess what? Fucking shut up, get your ass in the gym, train your ass off, prove yourself every day. Bam, it'll happen. Okay? Doesn't happen overnight. No matter what you take, what you do, you just basically get in there and you do work. It's that simple. Okay? If you need to, fucking go to a hole in the ground gym where you're not surrounded by people. Whatever it takes to get the job done, that's what matters. When people sit there and say that it's not possible, that they can't do this, anytime you say anything's possible, it's because there's a fear built up in your head that you don't believe it is possible. Okay, I don't have that fear in my head. When people say you plan on being bigger than what you are, yeah. Why would I not be? I'm just really. So that's what it is, man. And like I said in the first video, we talked about the difference between good and great. This one is just basically stepping it up every day, regardless of what fear. Use that fear that's in your head and use it to push yourself further. Okay, don't let it carry you into the corner. Okay, whatever level, like I said, you have to be able to push yourself to that next level. All right, well, that's about it. Shout out to Swole Gym's stuff. As you see, I'm wearing Garrett Griffin's shirt. Found it. Shout out to USP Labs. They're sending me some awesome stuff. Jack 3D Micro is the shit. Let me know what you guys think about this one. Other than that, put up, head down.